Hi, good morning and welcome. We are so glad you're here this lovely fall morning. I know many of you, but for those of you that I've not met, my name is Rich Sander. I'm the Executive Director for the Santa Barbara Alliance for Community Transformation, or SB-ACT, which is why we're all here today. So before we start, SB-ACT team is really committed to equity for all marginalized populations. So for that reason, I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge the land on which SB-ACT operates. Before we begin today's program, we would like to pay our respect and acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which this event takes place, the Chumash people. We would also like to pay respect to elders, both past and present, as well as other Indigenous people present. Thank you. With that, welcome all. Friends of SB-ACT, we are so glad you're with us this morning. I know it's another webinar and on a weekend no less. I know that's tough, but we're still glad you're here and you've made it through this year of online Zoom meetings and adjusting to this new normal. So here's the deal. You can see us, but we can't see all of you. So if you please, why don't you give a shout out in the chat and let us know you're here. It's just to the right of the screen. So I would like to welcome all of you to Collective Gratitude. This is our second annual Collective Gratitude event where we make time to honor all of our partner agencies and say thank you to all the work that they've been doing. SB-ACT is an agency focused on building partnerships and collaboration. For that reason, we want to take today to say thank you to you, our amazing partners. There is so much gratitude to go around. So just what does SB-ACT do? A lot of people have that question because we're not your traditional nonprofit. If you've been around our team for more than a day or two, you've probably heard the term collective impact model to describe our primary means of operation. We'd like to take a minute to share with you just what collective impact is and how it makes a difference in our community. Why don't you take it away, team?
SB-ACT is an organization that's centered around standing with and for the marginalized. As part of that, we're built on the principle of cross-sector collaboration to address major social issues in our community. We can't just solve that one piece at a time. Everyone has to contribute for these large issues and everyone's voice matters. So SB-ACT uses the collective impact model as a framework for the work that we do. The goal is to bring everyone together to solve large, major social issues.
There are 5 components to collective impact. The first aspect of collective impact is the role of a backbone organization, also known as a neutral convener. SB-ACT mainly operates in this role, and what we do is sit in the midst of the entire collective impact collaborative amongst the nonprofits and business agencies, the other service providers, and SB-ACT is there with no skin in the game other than to keep everyone on track to the common agenda.
The second component of collective impact is shared measurement systems. It's really crucial that all of our partners are able to share and be very clear and transparent about the actual issues we're seeing as well as the services that we're able to provide. So having shared measurement systems allows us to put everything on the table and see exactly what is being done, what progress we're seeing, and where there are still gaps.
Another component of collective impact is the idea of mutually reinforcing activities. So you've heard from other staff members with SB-ACT about how we work together, multiple partners from cross sectors of society to work on major social issues. And so when we bring everyone together through our regional action plans or our working groups, there tends to be items for each member to carry out before we meet again. And so as people move forward in what they're supposed to do relate to homelessness or human trafficking or whatever it is, it creates this synergy.
The fourth element of collective impact is continuous communication. This means that all partners and agencies have to speak together in order to accomplish our collective purposes. If we're not talking, we can't get anything done.
Another element of collective impact is the common agenda, otherwise known as our strategic plan. And this is when we facilitate with all of our collaborative partners what our measurable goals are going to be over a designated period of time. And this helps track our progress and make sure that we're reporting our outcomes to all of our engaged partners that are working to achieve those goals, as well as any engaged constituencies in making sure, again, we're transparent and open about the investment they've made in us, as well as the investment they've made in their community.
So we can't do this work with all and everyone at the table. We want to thank you for your partnership with SB Act as we collectively move forward to address large social issues in our community. Thank you for your time today.
So that's the collective impact model. This work of collaboration can be tricky to support since it's a little harder to grasp than on-the-ground service provision. However, we believe that it's just as essential. So we want to say thank you to our major funding partners that have believed in our vision this past year. Some of our major funders include the Ann Jackson Family Foundation, Jeffrey and Michelle Branch, Ruth Cavaletto, the City of Santa Barbara, Cottage Center for Population Health, Dan Engel, the Hanley Foundation, Cleo and Soul Hill, the Natalie Orfila Foundation, the Santa Barbara Foundation, the Santa Ynez Band of Chumash Indians Foundation, Jennifer and Amber Scores, and the Williams Corbett Foundation. From all of us, we say thank you for believing in this vision of collective impact. We simply could not do it without you. So what exactly has SB Act been up to this past year? I'm pleased to share that SB Act has been at the forefront of several major projects in Santa Barbara County, from assisting with more than 100 street exits in Santa Barbara to a campaign raising funds for 50 DACA recipients countywide. That's pretty awesome. But don't take my word for it. Let's hear from the staff again. Take it away, team.
The Interfaith Sanctuary Alliance is a coalition of faith communities and people of conscience across Santa Barbara County who are all working together to stand with and for our immigrant neighbors. The Interfaith Sanctuary Alliance is comprised of more than 30 different faith communities and community groups across Santa Barbara County. It includes communities from the Jewish faith tradition, the Christian faith tradition, Unitarian faith tradition, and others, as well as some just local immigrant advocacy groups. Interfaith Sanctuary Alliance is also part of the 805 Immigrant Network. This last year, the Interfaith Sanctuary Alliance was involved in a lot of different advocacy efforts across our county. First, we hosted our second Love Your Neighbor weekend, which is a city and county-wide effort to try and promote this theme of loving our immigrant neighbors, because this is something that all of our different faith communities, regardless of which faith tradition, can all get behind. And so through that event, we had several different education events, a film screening, as well as speakers presenting at different city council and county board of supervisors events. We also had faith communities sharing about this theme of loving our immigrant neighbors at their faith community services that week. We also participated in the 805 Justice Week, which was a social media advocacy week in which members of the 805 Immigrant Network all shared about different policy and legislation pushes that were happening across the state of California. And then in the latter half of this year, the Interfaith Sanctuary Alliance has been raising funds to support DACA recipients so that they can renew their DACA status. And to date has raised more than $26,000 for this purpose, which will support more than 50 different DACA renewals. Lastly, the Interfaith Sanctuary Alliance has done some work to support asylum seekers down at the border this year. And so in response to some of the different needs that we were hearing from our partners down in the San Diego-Tijuana region, the Interfaith Sanctuary Alliance worked with local faith communities and community advocates to try and raise funds, as well as to gather supplies, toiletries, non-perishable food, water, to take down to some of our partners there. So we were able to send 4 carloads full of equipment and things to our partners, and we sent some of our members on sort of a learning trip to find out what is going on down at the border and how can we be better partners in the long term. Since then, we've set up a long-term partnership with the La Cobina shelter in the Mexicali region, and we'll be continuing ongoing efforts to support their work there. In the coming year, the Interfaith Sanctuary Alliance will be continuing our tradition of continuing this Love Your Neighbor theme. We'll be hosting a Love Your Neighbor weekend in March of 2022. We'll also be continuing with the border support campaign and figuring out new ways that we can support the asylum seekers down there. And we're also exploring some new opportunities to possibly support Afghan refugees that may be coming to our region as a result of the new migration patterns that we're seeing throughout our country.
SB Act has facilitated a variety of programs addressing homelessness and its impacts in the city of Santa Barbara and beyond since 2005. What started as a meal share in Pershing Park and then expanded to Alameda Park has now grown into neighborhood navigation centers, full-scale operations that include case management, services for more than 20 providers, and relational trust building in different neighborhoods across the city of Santa Barbara. These neighborhood navigation centers are important because they meet individuals right where they are, right where they live, rather than making them go to a brick and mortar site somewhere else across the city. They also build trust with some of our community's most chronic individuals experiencing homelessness who might be uncomfortable going to a shelter site or something like that. Neighborhood navigation centers are a collaborative of a variety of service providers, from Doctors Without Walls providing street medicine, to Showers of Blessing providing hygiene care, to different service providers that provide care for animals, as well as relational trust building like Santa Barbara Response Network and Project Heal at Santa Barbara County. All of these service providers work together to create warm handoffs between agencies that allow individuals to receive the types of care that they need, as well as a variety of faith communities and businesses who provide meals each week. Over the past year, SB Act launched a second neighborhood navigation center site in addition to the first at Alameda Park. We also brought on several new partners to expand what services are provided at these neighborhood navigation center sites. Each site serves approximately 50 individuals, leading to 100 individuals served each week. And we look to be expanding to a third site early in 2022. In addition to expanding neighborhood navigation center sites to a third one, we look to expand what services are provided to offer even more care for those living on the streets here in Santa Barbara. In the coming months, SB Act is looking to expand our regional approach to homelessness and its impacts on both the west side of Santa Barbara and in the city of Goleta. SB Act has historically partnered with stakeholders on the west side of Santa Barbara to expand access of low-income households to critical healthcare resources. With the termination of the eviction moratorium, we are looking for ways to support low-income neighbors who might be at risk of homelessness. Much like our approach in the city of Santa Barbara, SB Act is looking to implement a region-by-region approach to homelessness and its impacts in the city of Goleta, beginning with fire-prone encampment regions and then expanding to other regions throughout the city.
We joined the Human Trafficking Task Force in 2014. We helped establish a needs assessment, which then affirmed that this is an issue locally. We now have more recent data from the Human Trafficking Task Force, where approximately 183 survivors have been served over the past 4 years. And RISE Behavioral Wellness data shows us that they have approximately 430 children and youth that they suspect are at high risk of being human trafficked as well. So currently, under the auspices of the Human Trafficking Task Force and the DA's office, there are approximately 70 different partners involved. And so we like to talk about the levels of involvement, all the way from political stakeholders, talking about the DA's office or the county behavioral wellness, county sheriff. So those agencies that are involved countywide and also have a certain amount of ability to disperse resources. And then we talk about kind of the coordinated level of working with other partners, victim witness, rape crisis, standing together against sexual assault, multiple partners that kind of have boots on the ground activities as well. Some of our homeless service providers are involved with this now, being trained, as most of the people and organizations on the task force are more related to boots on the ground effort. Our major effort is to help them by getting funds for them, raising up other resources, helping them with education, so that they can then reach out countywide for more efforts. It's also to coordinate a lot of the partners, help them capture some of the data they need to capture, basically to just build a strong collaborative for them, then expand that collaborative so that it really becomes a countywide effort. Our education working group, this past year, we've been able to put to train approximately 1,000 individuals through our Human Trafficking 101 training program. We've also done 29 events countywide in order to help bring about awareness. We've created a spreadsheet of all of our countywide schools, junior high and high schools, and begun to gather together all the trainers that are currently in the schools to see where the gaps are. We put on the Human Trafficking Awareness Month events again. Our data and evaluation working group discovered a survivor assessment tool that we're beginning to pilot with our emergency shelter and housing providers. And this will become very useful when we want to know how we're actually doing in the holistic care for survivors as they move toward permanent supportive housing. The last thing is we've been able to disperse about $5,000 through our flexible local dollar fund to assist survivors with some direct needs. Laptops in order to begin college. We paid for one individual's GED. We've also distributed a multiple number of gift cards to survivors as those needs come up. So moving into 2022, we are working with the Human Trafficking Task Force to move toward a more robust collective impact model, which means the establishment of a steering committee with approximately 18 to 20 subject experts around the issue of labor and sex trafficking. Then that steering committee is going to develop a 3-year strategic plan, what we call a common agenda, to get everyone going in the same direction. Then this plan can be worked throughout the working groups. So there'll be 4 or 5 goals set by the steering committee that we'll work to accomplish over the next 3 years. And that's very exciting because we're going to begin to get everyone aligned going in the same direction.
Good morning. I'm Barbara Anderson, Director of Partnerships at SB Act. We at SB Act believe that collective impact depends on all of us being at our best, with sufficient resources and operational capacity to achieve our common goals. To this end, SB Act has begun offering strategic advisory services, including organizational and business planning, community needs assessments, program evaluation, and business development to help partner organizations through their incubation and growth. SB Act is currently providing organizational consulting to Santa Barbara Response Network, a grassroots organization providing community psychological first aid and stress management to people experiencing trauma or crisis. SB Act is partnering with SBRN to strategize expansion, incorporate best practices, and grow into a healthy, sustainable organization. SB Act is also providing community consulting to the Cottage Center for Population Health. SB Act is assisting Cottage in the development of a supportive housing project for medically vulnerable individuals. We are conducting a literature review, an assessment of nationwide best practices, and developing a service delivery model. Additionally, SB Act is working with the Cottage Center for Population Health to facilitate a mixed methods study to assess the impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic on those experiencing homelessness in southern Santa Barbara County. SB Act identified and recruited individuals experiencing homelessness to take photos representing their experiences and discuss these experiences in focus groups. Now we're working with Cottage to analyze this data and draft a formal report to share with local homelessness partners in early 2022. We are so thrilled to support our local partners, and we're eager to see how they grow and become more impactful and sustainable in their work supporting the community.
Thank you, Barbara. We have touched on SBX's work with homelessness through the Neighborhood Navigation Centers, a partnership with the City of Goleta, and homelessness prevention on the West Side. But I'm also pleased to share that SBX has made some major strides in our 3-year strategic plan to address homelessness in the city of Santa Barbara. For more about the Act on Homelessness Collaborative, I'm proud to share the Homelessness Services Overview, a video produced by City TV of the City of Santa Barbara in July of 2021. Go ahead and take it from here, team. But I couldn't have said it any better. It really is going to take every single one of us, and that includes you, friends. Some of you have partnered with us since we started as a grassroots volunteer operation, bringing spaghetti to a humble meal sharing program. You've volunteered, you've donated, and you've provided important community connections. Others of you are relatively new to SB Act. Maybe you felt moved by the social reckoning happening at a national and international level. Maybe you were faced with the realities of inequity and crisis in our own community throughout the pandemic. Maybe you yourself have experienced homelessness, exploitation, or the challenges of immigration. Whatever your story is, we welcome you to this table. We at SBAC could never have anticipated the amazing change we've seen in our community, and it's only been possible with collaboration between diverse, cross-sector, and yes, sometimes conflicting viewpoints. Homelessness, human trafficking, adversity facing our immigrant neighbors, these issues are bigger than any one of us, and it's going to take all of us to honestly address them. And the good news? By coordinating collaborative solutions, SBACT helps our individual efforts go exponentially farther. By bringing everyone together around shared solutions, SBACT makes your donations go further and have more of an impact in our community. So we are grateful. We are grateful for your partnership in the past, in the present, and in the future. All of it allows us to do all the amazing work that you've seen today. Now, we have a humble goal of raising $10,000 through this event today. And we know that this only comes by small gifts given from a variety of people. And that's our base. And you may question why we need monetary support at all. We do have a lot of great partners that are funding some great work, but we as a community are just dipping our feet into collaborative solutions, and the needs are only getting more complex. The housing crisis is skyrocketing. We expect a slow wave of homelessness as the eviction moratorium has been lifted. Calls for asylum in our country and the need for refugee support are growing by the day. And as the issues grow more complex, the solutions require more coordination. So please, if you've been moved by the work we've done this year, can you join with us? Partner with us? If you'd like to give, you can text gratitude to 805-229-1930 or visit sbact.org/gratitude. Please consider making a donation and joining us today. We can't reach that 10,000 goal without you. Now, to all of our donors, our extended SBACT family, from the bottom of our hearts, we say thank you. And we leave you with this final word from some of our SBACT collaborators and staff.
And without SBACT's coordination and communication and bringing everyone together in these Zoom calls, we wouldn't have been able to achieve the community support that we needed to grow our program.
We're just all so proud to be part of an organization and a group where we're seeing change happen. We're seeing people get services that they need.
So I'm really grateful to be a part of SBACT.
I love the idea that people can come together and for the greater good of our community.
We really do have collective gratitude for all of the efforts and the time and the commitment and the passion that you all have.
This year, with this program, with these people, have showed me that this community cares about not only me, but about everybody in it.
Thank you to our community volunteers.
Thank you to our collaborative partners.
Thank you to our local government agencies.
Thank you to our service providers.
Thank you to our donors.
Thank you to our funders.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for being with us today. Again, if you'd like to give, you can text gratitude to 805-229-1930 or visit sbact.org/gratitude. We really can't do this without your support, so please consider joining us today. May you have a wonderful weekend. And from all of us at SBACT, thank you. Goodbye now.